advice would you give to the young generation that want to change the world?
Just don't be afraid to embarrass yourself. I think most of the people who go out and be inspirational start off, everyone laughing at them, and everyone's kind of thinking they're not gonna be able to do it. So I think being afraid to, or not being afraid to, maybe like embarrass yourself in a sense. Go out and do something that no one else is willing to do. People are always gonna be against what you're saying, but don't be afraid to, go out and keep saying it. Speak your mind. Like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, death threats like every day, and he's still out there preaching and all that. So yeah, just don't be afraid to go out and keep saying what you gotta say.
So, hey man, what advice would you give to the young generation that want to change the world?
First piece of advice that I would give young people who desire to change the world is to believe in Jesus Christ. That would be my first and probably only.
Okay, so look, what can we learn from leaders in the past that invoke change?
They're willing to sacrifice, I think. It's probably one of the biggest things that we can learn from leaders in our past or just in the past in general. Anybody who has made a great change has been willing to sacrifice.
In order to do great things, you got to be able to sacrifice.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give to the young generation that want to change the world?
I think it's about playing it out. So just try to make a plan and follow through with the best you can. Like a lot of people just like going through the motions here. I definitely do that myself. Once you start planning stuff, you'll start seeing like the goals that you are really setting come through. So,
What advice would you give to the young generation that want to change the world?
Find a niche that that has impact on the world. Be good at that one thing. Do that one thing that you do really well. You can cause impact, whether it's in your community or in the world.
What advice would you give to somebody who want to change the world?
Get out of your room and go do something. Start talking to people about what you want to do. It could be crazy. I promise you there's somebody who's already doing it, who's thinking crazier. Nothing's too crazy. Set the wildest ambition, and if you fall short, you fall short. But seeing crazy visions and being extra creative with what you see the world that you want is super important to actually being able to do anything.
Somebody want to change the world. What advice would you give them?
To keep striving, don't give up, and make sure whatever that you're trying to do to change the world, make sure that you take full confidence in it. And anybody ever asks, oh, what you trying to do, or why you trying to do this? You always have your main honest reason why. Back it up with the things that you do so that you don't seem like you a dog that's all bark.
What advice would you give to the younger generation that want to change the world?
Always do your best and never take anything personal. Don't make any assumptions. Be impeccable with your word, because your word is your bond, not only as a man, but also as a woman, as society, you feel me? So that goes for everybody.
What advice do you have for the younger generation that want to create change in society?
figure out where you getting that passion from. If you want to go make flying cars, where is that coming from? Like, you got to make sure it's coming from a positive place. Everything you do in life has to be what you love. If you do something that you don't like and you put all your time to it, you're gonna hate yourself. It's gonna pour, that negative is gonna pour into you.
What change do you want to see in the world?
I want people to unite more. I feel like there's a lot of like this side and that side and this, and there's a lot of people that have like different beliefs, but they allow their beliefs to like get in the way of them being able to like intertwine and collaborate with other people. So I feel like we need to be able to relate on our differences instead of segregating ourselves on our differences.
If you could have the answer to one question, what question would you ask?
Why are we living? Like, what are we here to do? I feel like we're here to like love each other and create more, but it's like, what's the point? Like, what's the point behind that?
What's the last book you read?
The Bible. I was reading Job. The book of Job talks about this man. He's rich. He's very like God faith driven. He's a great dude. And it talks about how God sort of allowed Satan to test his faith, because Satan came up to Job and came up to God and was like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, I've been on the world doing this and that to these people. And he's like, well, then test my son Job. You know what I mean? And he was like, only reason your son Job has any faith is because you give him everything. And he was like, all right, then God was like, to tell him to take everything from him. And he took everything from him, and Job still had his faith. And then Satan was like, all right, well now let me do something else. And he was like, all right, go hurt him, but you can't kill him. So he went and put sores all on his body, and he's like torturing Job. And Job maintains his faith. He kept going to God, like, God, why are you doing this to me? And the main thing, the reason that Satan had did that is because he wanted Job to curse God, but he never did. He just like, why did you do that? And at the end of the story, Job ends up just getting a new I mean, he loses everything. He loses his wife, his kids die. He was a rich farmer. All of his animals died. He had servants. They all died. Everybody's dead. And in the story, he ends up getting everything and more in return. And the whole point of the story is just like, no matter what your situation is, always like have that faith, have that drive, bro. Like you gotta have that positivity and that want to just go and seek more. And it's okay to hurt and be like, oh man, this sucks, but don't stop working.